Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar hosted by Better Business Bureau. I am Savannah Kimball, Community Outreach Manager at your Better Business Bureau serving Alaska, Oregon, and Western Washington. Today we have the opportunity to hear from Madonna Hanna, who will be presenting on how to drop kick the workplace drama. If you have any questions at any time throughout this presentation, please type them in the question tab and Madonna will answer them at the end of the program. Thank you for joining us, and the presentation is now yours, Madonna.
Thank you very much, Savannah. I always love talking to people about drop kicking the drama in the workplace, and today it's going to be about providing good customer service. For those of you, whether you're working or you're employed, I hope to inspire you to be able to build more civility and trust in the workplace. And that's where the encouraging a good work environment and creating the sweet sound of success for your business. Now, I firmly believe that how employees treat each other reflects on how they treat their customers. And I just happen to have a little quote here from Sir Richard Branson. He says, "I have always believed that the way you treat your employees is the way they will treat your customers." I firmly believe that when we're talking about customer service, that it starts in-house. You need to nurture trust and civility in-house. It starts with practicing good communication skills. That means speaking up, speaking clearly, not using any slang, because you never know how that's going to fly in the workplace. And you want to make sure that you acknowledge all coworkers with direct eye contact. And I'm talking about everybody. Now, I'll get into how you feel about certain people later, but when you want to build trust, civility, and drop kick that drama in the workplace, you need to treat everyone respectfully. And when you look somebody right in the eyes, that shows trust. The next, smiling sincerely. We may have to practice that at a staff meeting, but when you can smile sincerely, you help people to bloom. It's what's called beam and bloom. A few months ago, I was visiting a friend of mine at one of the local universities. She's in the administration office, and we were going to go from her office to the cafeteria. While I was walking with her, she beamed, and I watched people bloom. We passed by the gardener. She said, "Hi, how are you doing today?" The gardener looked up, smiled, and said, "I'm doing fine. Did you have a chance to eat that cake that I baked for you?" And she said, "Not yet, because that's my father's favorite kind of cake, and I'm waiting for him to come over." And the gardener just continued to bloom. No pun intended, now that I'm thinking about it. But as we began to go toward the cafeteria, whether it was a student or another faculty member, and even when we were in the cafeteria, she spoke to the kitchen staff. Everyone she took the time to speak to, she smiled at them, and I watched them bloom. So it works. When you have a sincere smile, when you beam, people will bloom, and I want you to think about that. Respectfully greeting coworkers by their names. Everybody likes recognition. So if you don't know all your coworkers' names, maybe we can do an activity in the staff meeting so that we can get to know everybody's name. Just like a little while ago, Savannah introduced herself, and then she introduced me. And something else that's very important. using a pleasant tone of voice. Good morning, Savannah. How are you? Good morning, Madonna. Oh, we just started some drama. There went the civility, and there went that trust thing that I had mentioned before. Once you use a different tone of voice, you have caused a ripple in the universe, because people will start to say, they'll even if they're on task, they'll stop for a second and say, what's that all about? And that is not what we want. So using a pleasant tone of voice is going to show respect when you're greeting people, and it also helps when you're acknowledging your co-workers. This is a really wonderful quote. I just love this quote, and I hope you're going to write it down, because Mother Teresa said, I can do things you cannot. You can do things I cannot. Together we can do great things. Look at that again. Together we can do great things. And we know that Mother Teresa did a lot of great things, so she knows what she's talking about. I'm going to skip to the third bullet, understanding individual differences and abilities, because that's what Mother Teresa's statement was referring to. We need to get over excluding people who we feel, it's like a secret committee gets together and says, well, Madonna and Savannah aren't very good at math, so we're not going to include them in things, and we need to get past that. You need to understand that people have individual differences and abilities. When someone has a different ability from you, as Mother Teresa says, we need to embrace that so that we can work together and we can achieve wonderful things. And let's start to put that in the front of our minds before we say, well, so-and-so's not very good at, so we don't want them to join us. No, you don't want to be excluded, so don't exclude other people because they don't share your same abilities and talents. I'm going to move up to the first bullet. Looking for things to like and appreciate in fellow workers. I firmly believe that we need to lead with like. Get over making assumptions about people. Well, I automatically don't like so-and-so because they've got polka dot hair and they think they're cool and they think this and think that. No. Change the frame of mind. I've seen it done. I've taught in the classroom for over 30 years, and I've worked in the industry too. When you start to think about things that you like about people, and I mean sometimes we're all human, you have to really find something to like and appreciate about that person. When you start to do that, it's going to become very natural for you, and it's going to change the culture and climate of your workplace. And I'm serious about this. I've seen it done. It works. If it becomes an expectation in the workplace. Now remember what I said before. The first thing we're talking about is how to nurture good customer service amongst our fellow workers. Because when we do that, we are going to be able to provide better customer service to our actual customers, because we're already used to leading with like with our own employees, so that we're going to be able to do this naturally with all of our customers. Pay attention and carefully listen. Excuse me, just got to clear my throat a little bit here. Pay attention and carefully listen to coworkers' opinions and ideas. Now this gets back into understanding differences and abilities and leading with like. Not everybody thinks the same way that you do. Not everybody has the same opinions or ideas. But open yourself to listening to other people's opinions and ideas. Just because you don't agree with them doesn't mean you should put them down or exclude people. Get in the habit of listening, because later on I'm going to be talking about customer service, and what's the first thing a customer wants you to do? They want you to listen to their wants and needs. And if you're used to patiently listening to your fellow workers, it's going to become very natural when it comes to listening to customers. Just know, when workers are positive and happy, they don't drag drama into the workplace. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because when they don't drag drama into the workplace, employees and customers don't get dragged into the drama. And you know what I'm talking about. You know the drama queens and kings, because when they come into your presence, you kind of look at, someone across the way and you go, oh no, whether it's at home or work. And if you are the drama king or queen, today is a good opportunity to think about how you affect the workplace. Remember, we want to talk about building civility and trust. Now, once we've achieved not dragging drama into the workplace, we'll have a harmonious workplace where we can get things done. And that's what we want. That's where the bravos come in. Let's talk about employees should be expected to. When you go in for your job interview, you're thinking, ooh, I want a job. Why do you want a job? You need money, you want something to do, or you truly want to pursue a certain line of work. And guess what you're going to be expected to do? Think. Yes, think. And analyze, and to make reasonable and common sense decisions. There are going to be times when, I remember Romper Room and Miss Jane, or I forgot her name, but you guys probably remember. She would say, put on your thinking caps. When you go to work, you need to put on your thinking caps, because you don't know what is going to happen that day, where you're going to be able to need to think quickly on your feet or analyze a situation. Maybe the boss isn't there, and it's up to you to come up with a solution. You're going to have to use common sense when you're making decisions too. Maintain good human relations and effective communication skills. Maintaining good human relations means remembering to say, please, thank you, you're welcome, excuse me. And you say it loud and you say it proud. That's part of effective communication skills. And no matter how you feel about your coworker or particular coworker, you maintain that respect. Now, something I used to tell my students when I was teaching, I don't care who you don't like. I don't care. What is important is that you develop a respect for everybody. You want to be respected, so learn, once again, to find something that you like and practice saying please, thank you, you're welcome. All those little things that your parents or grandparents probably told you to say, because in the workplace, it's so important. And of course, the effective communication skills. And something that I really like too is brainstorming new ideas. Your employer is going to expect you to do that. I think that in order for brainstorming to work, you need to have that safe environment. Remember what I told you about building a culture and climate where people feel comfortable enough to share ideas and opinions? This is where brainstorming is going to come in. And there may be somebody on staff who has an idea that's going to move the business toward its goals. And we're going to talk about business goals later. But being able to feel comfortable enough to brainstorm can be a benefit to everyone. Something else you're expected to do when you're hired to work is to work with minimum supervision. Remember what I said about trust before? You need to be the kind of employee where you can work on your own with minimum supervision. You need to be able to stay on task, get the job done, and not be the kind of employee who says, well, I don't want to do this, so I'm going to keep asking other people to come and help me, and they wind up doing your work. You weren't hired, and for you employers out there, you're not hiring people who are going to do the minimum amount of work. Let me just get back here. I lost my train of thought a little bit because I get wrapped up with this. You're hiring people who are going to stay on task and give you an honest day's work. And this next one is important. Developing a desire to improve. No matter where you work, I think it is so important that you always look for ways to improve. I find that when it's slow, that's the time to find out how you can do your job better. And it's also an opportunity to help other people who might be weak in a certain area. Being a former corporate retail person, and I've also worked in apparel manufacturing, I know that when I have walked into other businesses, especially retail stores, when it's slow, I've seen employees doing things they shouldn't be doing, and I'm thinking, why aren't they getting to know the merchandise better? Why aren't they putting this top with this bottom and coordinating outfits and practicing selling to each other? Why isn't someone maybe helping someone with something that they need to do on the computer? There's just really plenty of things to do to improve yourself on the job, especially when it's slow. And have an awareness of business goals. I think it's really important, no matter where you work, where it's McDonald's or Microsoft, you need to know that businesses have two goals. Their first goal is to build goodwill. Goodwill is the foundation upon which businesses and good reputations are built. How do you build that goodwill? Well, you're starting right now by building that goodwill working with each other. Because when you build goodwill with your fellow employees, then it's going to be really easy and natural to build goodwill with your customers. Every great business is built on friendship. John Cash Penny, which you know as J.C. Penney. And John Cash Penny is the gray-haired gentleman with the mustache and the bow tie. So now you know what J.C. Penney looks like. And he was very, very adamant about building friendships in business. Our second goal. You see, once you build that foundation of goodwill within the business and with your customers, then you're going to be able to make money. And here we've got Benjamin here, Benjamin Franklin, and I'm sure you've heard the expression that it's all about the Benjamin. Savannah's going, yes, it is. But it becomes about the Benjamins. You know, you're going to make money only by providing good customer service, building that relationship that J.C. Penney was talking about. And good old Henry Ford said, it's not the employer who pays the wages. The employer only handles the money. It's the customer who pays the wages. And I think that this is something that, as an employee, if you have not thought about that, that's something that you really need to consider. And this is something that I would share with my students too, because I taught fashion marketing and career exploration. When a customer crosses the threshold of a business, which first of all, we're glad when they do that, and when they actually purchase something, say they purchase something for $20, that $20, part of that $20 pays for the merchandise, because businesses don't get things for free. So it pays for the merchandise. It also pays for the utilities, the lights, the electricity, the water. It pays for every single paper clip and stapler, the toilet paper. That's what the customer is paying for, and then they're also paying for your wages. So if you haven't thought about that, give it some consideration that that customer is paying, when they purchase something, they are paying for everything, the gas that goes in the transportation, trucks and vans. They're paying your wages, and they're helping to pay the bills. So that's why you need to build that good foundation with each other. Then you build a good foundation of goodwill with the customers, because that customer is so important to the growth of whatever business you're working on. Next, we're going to look at some positive teamwork expectations. Oh, there I am. Here's a little quote I came up with. Teamwork makes the dream work. I'm going to say it again. I like saying that. Shouldn't I say that again, yes. Savannah? Teamwork makes the dream work. Write it down. Put it up. When you work together as a team, because that's another reason why you're being employed. Yes, we have the goals, the goodwill, and the making money. But when you're hired, you are part of a team that's going to reach the goal or the mission of that business. And when there's civility and there's trust, everybody's communicating with each other, everybody's on the same page, the team is going to move forward. Teamwork, positive teamwork, is going to make the dream work. Whether it's that brainstorming, working with people with different abilities and ideas, or even going back to that quote by Mother Teresa. You can do something I can't do, I can do something you can't do, but together we can do something great. This is the result of that statement. Teamwork makes the dream work. Employees are hired to work as part of a team. Never forget that, no matter where you are working, whether it's a school, whether it's an apparel boutique, Better Business Bureau, no matter where you are working, you are part of a team. Sure, when we look at the Seahawks and we look at the Mariners and we look at the various soccer teams, we go, oh, okay, they're a team. But consider yourself a team member and ask yourself, what kind of a team member have I been? I was hired to be part of a team, part of reaching the business's goals. That's the second bullet. Employees are hired to achieve the business's goals. You're hired to promote goodwill, and you are hired to help the business make money, because now we know why that business needs money. They've got bills to pay. They've got to pay you and all those other things I was talking about. And when customers have a great experience, the team wins. That's very important. When customers have a great experience, the team wins. And I'm also going to say that when fellow employees have a great experience, the team wins. Because as an employee, when you trust the people you work with and you demonstrate civility with the people you work with, no matter what you're going through in the business, you can get through it. The team's going to find a way to win. Right, Savannah?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, positively. And now some things, some traits that also help. Patience and self-control. You need to be very, very patient with your fellow workers. just because you don't like someone or somebody's got polka dot hair and you lose your patience with them. Practice self-control. Learn to cooperate with everyone. Be the person who appears to get along with everyone. Remember what I said, what I would tell my students, I don't care who you don't like, but you will cooperate with them. Because when you cooperate, the business is able to meet its goal. The team is able to meet its goal. You have to put your personal prejudices aside. And courtesy, of course, that's what I've been talking about. Civility, courtesy, saying please and thank you. And it's very important to be alert and enthusiasm. Look like you're ready to go. Be bright-eyed and smiling. In fact, Savannah, you have such a lovely smile. You do, and your eyes are perky and bright. I mean, when I showed up here this morning, you guys were looking alert and enthusiastic. That means you are ready to go. I remember years ago, my husband and I were traveling from Washington State to the Grand Canyon, and we stopped at a fast food place that we'd never heard of before, because it was a regional kind of thing. And when we walked in, everybody behind the counter, like the cashiers, looked at us, and they were all smiling and alert, and they were, how can we help you? And it was like, well, wait a minute, why don't we go out and come back in? We were a little stunned, but that's what I mean about alertness and enthusiasm. And there's even a mom and pop restaurant in Tacoma, because we're here in Washington State, and no matter who walks in, whether they know the person or not, somebody behind that counter is going to say, hi, how are you? Thank you so much for coming in. You can sit wherever you like. And then when you leave, thank you so much for coming in. Hope to see you again. That's the kind of alertness and enthusiasm that inspires customer loyalty too. And of course, dependability. Gee, you're hired to be dependable, which means you're going to get to work on time, you're going to come back from breaks on time, you're going to keep confidential information confidential. That goes into honesty and loyalty. And remember, once again, I'm going back to that trust. You need to have trust in your workplace, and being dependable, honest, and loyal works in with that. And we want to make sure that we do that. And the word team, T-E-A-M, together everyone achieves more. This is another one that you might want to write down. Together everyone achieves more. Look around at your teammates and then make an assessment of yourself too. What more can I do so that the team can achieve more? And you might want to talk about this in a staff meeting too. Together, everyone achieves more. When we work as a team, when we're civil and we have that trust. Good customer service traits. The grandmaster, I mean, just growing up, and I'm a very creative person. You like being creative, Savannah?
Absolutely.
I just adore Walt Disney. You like Walt Disney too.
Mm-hmm.
Iconic American businessman. Do what you do so well that they will want to see it again and bring their friends. That is the essence of customer service, and who knew better than Walt Disney? If you do what you do so well, the customer will see it again and bring friends. That's what we want. Remember that business goal? Building goodwill. Now, when we think about Disney, I'm going to think about The Lion King. I saw The Lion King maybe 6 times. How many times did you say?
Can't even count.
You can't even count. I remember saying to my students, I saw The Lion King 5 or 6 times, and they said, Mrs. Hanna, we've seen it 25 times. And just even now, Frozen, oh, that is just phenomenal. Why? Because when you see something over and over again, or if you go to a business over and over again, you're going to talk it up. And when you talk it up, You bring friends. You say to your friends, oh, you have to go to such and such business, or let me take you to such and such business. The customer service is good, the food is great, the prices are reasonable, you get what you pay for, and more. That's the excitement. That's what Walt Disney was talking about. And that's what you want in your own business. You want to acknowledge all customers with a pleasant greeting and prompt service. Now, this is something that I found to be true. Remember at the beginning when I was talking about, well, if you don't like people with polka dot hair, that will translate over to customers with polka dot hair. Because we're human and we're going to say, oh gosh, there's a person with polka dot hair. I don't want to wait on them. I'm going to, not be pleasant with them because I just don't like people with polka dot hair. Get over it. Remember goal 2. You're there to make money, so you need to build that foundation. So you acknowledge all of your customers with a pleasant greeting and prompt service. There is no hiding away from certain customer types. It is your job to make each customer feel important. That's what the team does. That's what you need to talk about in staff meetings repeatedly. Listen patiently to what the customer is saying. Remember, I talked about that earlier when I said you need to listen to what your fellow workers are saying. Who cares how you feel about them personally or what they're saying? You need to listen to what they're saying so that you can listen to what customers are saying, and you don't ever want the customer to feel like you're annoying them. And you don't want the customer to feel frustrated because they feel you are not listening to them and you don't understand their wants and needs, because they will take their wants and needs to another business, and you don't ever want a customer to walk away from your business with a negative impression. Provide extra service. Wherever you can, provide extra service. If you see a customer who's in a wheelchair, and I've seen this in the grocery store, you probably have too, where somebody's in a wheelchair, and what product do they want? The product that's at the very top of the counter. Now, instead of walking by, be right there. And in fact, if there's somebody who's can be available to assist that person, to just kind of be with them for a little bit, just kind of walk, chat with them, that's an opportunity to provide extra service. And we want to be able to gain the customer's confidence. We want our customers to trust us. We want them to know that for the time that they're spending with us, that they can trust us and we really understand their wants and their needs. Ooh. We got to talk about this. A gossip-free zone. I will tell you honestly that the first 2 corporations that I worked for when I was very, very young, no gossiping was allowed. I worked at a major department store in New England, and they were very serious. They were not paying us to gossip. Now, I was in management. They weren't paying me to gossip, and I was to encourage our salespeople not to gossip. The second business that I worked for, a manufacturer, apparel manufacturer, there was no gossiping. I saw people get fired for gossiping, fired on the spot because you're not being paid to gossip. I think it would be a good idea to establish your entire work site as a gossip-free zone. This means the lunchrooms, while you're standing outside the business during break or, in that 25-foot spot where you're smoking, Definitely never gossip in the restroom. I've seen too many situations where somebody was chatting unfavorably about someone, and who steps out of the stall but the person that they were gossiping about. And then what do you say? Oh, I didn't mean to say it. Yes, you did. You meant to say it, but you didn't mean for me to hear it. Just don't say it. If you need to create a campaign with posters and reminders, I'm going to suggest that you do it. Perhaps a couple of staff meetings. Address the gossiping. Gossiping is divisive. It can ruin a business's reputation, and when your reputation is ruined, it can ruin your bottom line, because it only takes one gossiping employee, it only takes one incident for a customer to overhear and to just run with that. Now, during your job interviews, your employers, I'm going to suggest that you let your new employees know that you have gossip-free zone expectations. Get it out there during an interview, because gossiping can create an uncomfortable environment for the fellow workers and your customers. And remember what I said in the beginning about trust and civility. And just always know that if a person is gossiping to you about someone else, you want to think, what in the heck are they saying about me behind my back? What are they saying about me? And customers think the same thing. Now, maybe it's just me, but Savannah, have you ever been in the store where you heard the employees gossiping about someone, or even about another customer, and the customer's right there?
Definitely.
You start to think, oh my gosh, what are they going to say about me? And you don't even want to put that kind of a doubt in your customer's mind, because you're creating a negative image, and that poisons the reputation of your business. And I'm going to talk to you small business owners out there. Those of you that have put money aside, maybe through retirement, or maybe you've inherited some money, or maybe everybody in the family has pitched in with some money, and you have just a few employees, but this business is your life. It's what you've always wanted to do. It's your dream come true. You cannot condone gossiping. Don't you gossip. Do not allow your employees to gossip, because there goes your dream. And it also, gossiping can chase good employees and loyal customers away. I don't know how many people have stopped me after a talk and said a family member or a friend really liked where they worked. They really did, but the only reason they're not working there anymore is because the gossiping has gotten out of hand. They don't enjoy the climate or the culture because it's so divisive, and you just really can't trust anyone. And usually these people sometimes go on to work for the competitors, and that's not what you want. And plus, unfortunately, I've seen businesses that just were closed because customers stopped coming. And that's not what you want, especially when you've put your hard-earned money in there. I love this quote from the movie The Magnificent Ambersons. Gossiping's a nasty thing, but it's sickly, and if people of good intention let it alone, it will die 99 times out of 100. If someone comes to you with some juicy gossip, and I've seen this, and Savannah, I'm just going to use you as an example here. Like, if I say to you, Savannah girl, so-and-so said something about you, I have seen people's body language open to wanting to know what someone said. Why is that? Why is the body language open? Because the person who is coming to you, they may or may not be telling the truth. But yet you've opened yourself to it, and what did they say? And then the next thing you know, you're upset, or maybe you don't like somebody. You're off task from work. People are just off task from work because of the drama of gossiping. Just let it go. Like the quote says, if people have good intentions, just let it alone. I mean, in my case, having had that foundation of working for two major corporations where we do not allow gossiping, that's something that I brought into my classroom. Like, no. And in fact, a while ago when I was giving a presentation, an employee of a small store raised her hand and she said, Madonna, okay, you don't want us to gossip about our fellow employees, but is it okay to gossip about our neighbors or our cousins? And I said, no, don't gossip about anyone. Just keep it professional and just have a gossip-free work zone. We'll just leave it at that. Another quote. Loyal customers, they don't just come back. They don't simply recommend you. They insist, and there's that word, they insist that their friends do business with you. Goes along with what Walt Disney said. Your business, and going back to what J.C. Penney said about building that goodwill, building friendships. You're building friendships with your co-workers. You're building a friendship with your customers. You want them to come back. That's what loyal customers do. And any time that you realize that your loyal customers haven't been coming back, like you haven't seen them for a while, you may need to find out what's happening. I know that my husband was in that situation. There was a grocery store that he and I would both shop at. You know, I did the major shopping, but he would drop in to pick up his lottery tickets or just pick up something quick. And one day when I was in the store, one of the cashiers said, you know, we don't see your husband as often as we used to. He used to come in all the time for years. So I asked my husband about it. I said, the ladies at the grocery store miss you. Sure. Uh-oh. I said, what's going on? He said, well, one of the cashiers was rude a couple of times. And I figured, I'm coming home from work, just running in to pick up a few things. I don't need people to be rude to me. So I started going to a competitor. So the next time I went into the store, the grocery store, I told the cashier what my husband said. And I told him which cashier it was. And they said, oh, we're sorry about that. Please tell your husband that cashier is no longer working for us because she was rude to other people too. I told my husband, and he said, well, I like going to this other store better now. They're nicer to me. And so he never did return to that grocery store. And so you want to make sure that, and be very aware, like I said before, that awareness, being alert. If you find that your loyal customers aren't coming around like they used to, and another flag is you're starting to lose loyal employees, but they're not telling you why they're leaving, you need to take a serious look at what is going on, especially with the civility and the trust factors with your business, especially you small business owners, because your business is your life and it's your dream, and you need every loyal customer and you need every loyal employee to make your dream come true. Well, Savannah, looks like we have come to the end of this presentation. We see my smiling faces and some of the things that I can do, conferences, keynotes. I can be a master of ceremony, do fashion shows, fundraising, auctions, and got my name and number here for people who can contact me now for their next event. And this might also be a good time to maybe start answering.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Answer some questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madonna. We really appreciate you being here. Very inspirational talk, I think. Definitely some things I'm going to take home and really evaluate myself. So thank you very much. We didn't receive any questions throughout the presentation. If anyone does have any questions, now's the time to go ahead and pull up your GoToWebinar tab and go ahead and type in those questions. We'll read them aloud and have Madonna answer those. We'll give you just a few moments to go ahead and type those up if you have them.
And please, feel free to ask questions. I have a wealth of experience, and I'm used to talking.
We have a thank you from one of our attendees. Thank you for being a part of this. We really appreciate it.
Well, I'd like to thank them too. And while we're waiting for questions, I was at a meeting yesterday speaking with an acquaintance who told me just something that she had learned the other day about an opportunity for all employees, whether it's a CEO or the custodian, to share air. That's what she called it. First, if there's a situation that a business needs to handle, give everybody a sheet of paper and have them write down a solution. Give them about two or 3 minutes, and then pair them up with someone, and then they'll discuss that, and then pair those 2 people up with 2 more people so that you have a group of 4, and then they chat about it, and then each little group shares what they came up with. And I thought, well, that's a great way to get everybody involved, because sometimes someone has a really great idea as to how to solve something, but they're not asked. And they may have the perfect solution. Do we have a question?
We do have a question. We have this question just came in. How is the best way to eliminate the drama? I understand not contributing it, but if it is not shut down from the top down, what tools can you offer to stop it?
That's an excellent question. It really is. I've been asked this question many times, and I'm going to say that when you're in a staff meeting, there are so many things that are covered, but we need to make a point of covering some culture things. And the information that I just gave about airtime for everyone, that I would suggest that they try that. Have everyone write down a possible solution to the question that was asked. Another part of that question was about leadership.
Good point.
It's got to come top down. And as I mentioned before, being a new employee right out of post-secondary school, there were certain expectations that the leadership wanted, and they were very good about being serious about it, because people are always going to test. Oh, they don't really mean that. They said it, but they don't mean it. When you are watching people being written up or reprimanded because the boss said, no, this is not, you're not following the expectations, and they mean it, then the people who understand the expectations will say, good, the boss means what he says.
Absolutely.
It was the same thing when I was teaching. I had a certain set of expectations, and students, just like fellow workers, employees, they expect you to follow the expectations. So
And the consistency.
exactly, it's the consistency.
We did have another question come in. I also think this is really great. If someone does come to gossip with you, they approach you with gossip, as you mentioned, what is the best way to shut them down, but in a polite way? How can you politely address,
That is, thank you very much for asking that question. I have found that when people, there's two things. Me being a person who doesn't gossip, people who do gossip would come to me and say, I know that you don't gossip, but I wanted to tell you this. I would politely say, right now, I'm really busy.
Ooh.
I've got to stay on task and get this done. Perhaps you can assist me with this by, now, what was your opinion of this particular work thing? I think that if you're ready to focus a person on the work at hand.
That's great.
And also, depending on what your personality is, you know I don't indulge in gossip. I know you want to keep me in the loop, but right now I really am busy and I've got this to do. Thank you, but I really need to do this. And come on, you know I don't indulge in gossip.
That's really great. And focusing on work too. That's the reason why everyone's there.
Yes, you
the
are.
Goals.
Exactly.
The goals of the team together. That's great. What about, this didn't come in, but just as you were explaining that, it came to my mind. What if you're in the lunchroom, the break room, and you don't have your desk in front of you? Maybe there isn't, something you could point out really quick to them. And I feel like break room is probably where a lot of it could happen.
Yes.
And does happen.
Yes.
What do you suggest?
Right.
What do you suggest doing in that situation?
Savannah, you are talking to a person who honestly did not go into the lunch rooms and break room for that reason.
Exactly. That's a good
I either worked through, I was in management most of the time when I was working, so I worked through my lunch, or I lunched in my own area.
Smart.
There were times when I was perceived as not being social because I didn't gossip. But then I thought, well, that's the fellow employees who are perceiving me as not being social. But what does my employer think? What does my supervisor? I'm on task and I'm working.
Right.
Because I'm just truly not interested in the gossip. I'm not being paid to gossip, and it's divisive.
Right. Let them have their opinions, but you're there doing your job, and you're going to get it done. And when it comes down to teamwork, you're going to jump in and help them still. So.
Yes, exactly. And it goes back to the leadership that who's ever in charge, you need to know this is going on and the cost of gossiping, and step up and do something about it. Just like I mentioned, you can establish a gossip-free zone and just come on out and just say to everyone, we have a situation. This is what it's costing us, and we need to do something about it, and we need to do something about it together. And establish the expectations and make sure everybody understands the expectations and what the consequences are if the expectations are not followed, because that's really important. Yes. Well, I didn't know, because somebody can always say, well, I didn't know. Yes, you did.
And I'm really glad you brought up the gossip-free zone. We just got another question in about that. Someone that was listening today asked for the gossip-free zone and the top-down approach. How does a manager write up employees for gossiping? And then another part of that, do they have to hear it directly, or an employee coming to them and telling them about another employee that gossips? So coming to a manager, do you see where she's going with that?
Okay, yes. So I've been in that position, the management position. I've been on both ends of being told your people will not gossip. This is the consequences of it, and them being very serious about it.
Right.
If one of my employees comes to me and says, I really like, first of all, it's how the employee approaches them. That's what management needs to look at. How is this person approaching you? Is this somebody who is on task all the time, consistently turns in quality work, all right? And then when they come to you and they say, I really like working here, this and this, I want to bring this to your attention. Someone is gossiping just a little too much, and I'm finding it to be divisive, and I'm uncomfortable, and some of the other people are too. I just want to bring this to your attention. Now it's up to the manager to just maybe be in the vicinity of this person who's gossiping. Just maybe get out of your office or you're working the floor so that you can observe it. And also notice how many employees are coming to you about this person who's gossiping.
Right.
And what if this person who's gossiping is related to you?
Ooh.
That happens. The nepotism.
Yeah.
Yes, especially small business owners. They have a decision to make. Do they not want their daughter or cousin or nephew that, somebody in the family, oh, let him work for you, and you're rolling your eyes like, oh no. And to keep peace in the family, you have this person here,
Right.
but they're not a good worker, they're divisive, they're gossiping, they're killing your business.
Just focus on the dream.
Yes, that's exactly right, the dream. So, the person who's in charge, consider the person who's giving you the information, how they give you the information, then you get out there and you investigate yourself too.
That's great. It's a great point. Leave it up to the manager to take in the information and
Exactly.
then settle out what may
Exactly. And then the part about writing the person up,
be.
what are the work expectations?
Right.
If you already have something in place written down and you have talked to all your employees about gossiping,
Right.
that's why having that gossip-free zone and the expectation and having everybody in on it,
Right.
okay, then they know the expectation, and your employees will become deputies. They'll say, we're not gossiping, are we? Because I've seen it done in the classroom. The students will say, we're not gossiping, are we? And
That's
the
a good
person
way to come back at it.
Yes.
That's great.
But you have to have your expectations in place in order for it to work.
Right. I'm going to tag off on that, Madonna, and just explain a few things that we do here at Better Business Bureau that have been really great HR practices, I think. We sign, if there's any new HR policy that goes through, everyone's given a piece of paper. Everyone is to sign and date it. Make sure that the expectations have evenly been given out to everyone. Everyone knows what it is and everyone's agreed to it. Also, we have one-on-one meetings with our managers once a week, which is
great.
Yeah, and not every business may have the time or ability, resources to be able to do that, but that gives us the time to directly speak with our manager privately about all work items, how we're feeling about our workload. That would be a perfect time. I've never had to, bring up personal combatant issues in the workplace, but I think that would be a great time to be able to bring that up to a manager in a private setting.
Exactly.
In an open communication with a comfortable atmosphere.
And just as something else, because the manager was talking about how do they write someone up. Sometimes the gossip will come to the manager and say that somebody else is doing something that they're not doing because they're just a divisive person. So that's why the manager really has to do a good job of following up and seeing things for themselves, because sometimes you just can't go by what somebody might be saying. You have to get out there, but if you have those expectations in place, it makes things a lot easier.
Absolutely. That's great information. I think we'll have to wrap up the questions here if we don't receive any here within the next minute. We really appreciate everyone for tuning in today. We will be posting this recording relatively soon on our website. Thank you for being here.
Oh, well, thank you very much for having me here, Savannah, and thank you all for those questions were great.
Those were really great
Once
questions.
they got comfortable and said, well, let me just ask her about this gossiping thing, because that's a big one, along with sometimes swearing in the workplace. But I find that gossiping is it's huge, when you want to develop trust and